Oh, welcome one and all to Puppet History! Today we'll be taking an ever-winding look at yet another chapter in the heavy book we call History, while our guests ruthlessly compete for the coveted capsules and title of History Wizard! Oh, Ryan Bergara! Are you ready?
I was in the middle of a burp and then I got startled by the curtain and it got stuck.
Oh, the incomparable Sara Rubin! Are you ready?
I'm so ready. Have you been working out, Professor? You look good.
I mean, maybe a little bit.
You look juiced. You look beefy.
I think that jacket's just too small.
Well, then let's crack it!
Is that a giant vat of molasses?
Oh, yeah. It's just a, boys project that me and Ryan are working on.
Nah, just something we do after hours.
Yeah, we have a little fun around here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Anyway,
right.
let's get into the lesson, huh? Now, to begin, you ever go on a trip with your friends only for the whole thing to end up in disaster? Travel delays, gross group rentals, and you can't even agree on what to do?
Honestly, my trips have been pretty smooth.
Oh, well, lucky
Yeah, I haven't had a
you.
ton of. Do you ever have?
I have travel delays. I was stuck at an airport for about 24 hours.
24
But that was like, whatever. It was fine. The air conditioning broke though, and then all of the airport had water on the floor because of the humidity in the air and people were slipping and stuff.
Sometimes I feel like misery follows you wherever you go.
He's a misery magnet. Well, our story today features a group trip that went about as awry as it could. Today, we're talking about the Wager Mutiny.
Cool.
Okay, so ships are on deck.
Yeah.
And a wager.
That's his name, probably.
Oh,
The
I
ship
thought
is
there'd be a
called-
fun little bet going on, like who's gonna die first kind of thing, or like how long are we gonna until we all die kind of thing.
Do you want to put a bet on when we'll die?
Okay.
Oh, out of the three of us?
Grim.
I feel like either you have the lifespan of a dog, where it's 15 years, but every year feels like 20.
Right.
Or you're gonna live for 3,000 years.
He's like eternal.
Yeah, you're like an eternal being.
Every year for me is about 0.035 human years.
Oh, so you're like
my
the
gosh.
people on that ship in Interstellar.
I'm like the elves in Lord of the Rings.
I think you outlive me. I assume you probably eat better than me. You probably get better sleep.
I definitely drink less.
Yeah. Oh,
Not that that's a judgment on you, but
Hey.
just I know for a fact that I drink less.
I think that's a good assumption.
Well, in the middle of the 1700s, Spain was caught up in that favorite hobby of governments everywhere, colonizing. The Spanish were the dominant dominator in South America and basically the only Euros on the eastern shores of the Pacific Ocean. England, meanwhile, was somewhat of a colonizer itself. And like two horrible boys arguing over a cupcake that isn't theirs to begin with, they started fighting over who could steal what land from whom. Between 1739 and 1748, the two countries had themselves a war, fought not in the homeland, but in their interests abroad.
Every time I come on here, it's talking about colonizing.
Oh yeah, we here at Puppet History do not endorse colonizing.
Cool. That's another strong stance to take.
Very strong in this political
I
climate.
can't believe you'd be so bold.
To disrupt the Spanish trans-Pacific trade, in September of 1740, England dispatched Commodore George Anson to lead a squadron of 6 warships to sail around the tip of South America and generally fuck some Spanish shit up. Crowd the lane, no easy buckets. Are these basketball terms working for you there, Ryan?
No easy buckets?
No easy buckets is something that I say every time I block somebody.
From getting the ball in the net.
Yeah, for getting the ball.
Oh, yeah.
I go, no easy buckets. This is my lane.
And so are you on platform shoes when you do that?
No, I could jump really high. Actually.
Prove it!
Prove it right
You want me
now.
to prove it right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
How am I
Touch
going to
the
prove?
ceiling.
Touch the ceiling.
Touch the ceiling
All right.
like you're a nerd.
I just did it.
Whoa!
It was so
Wow.
quick the
He's
camera
so
the
fast.
camera didn't even catch it.
Well, by the time the squadron made it to the tip of South America, things were looking bleak. Brits were dying left and right of scurvy, and on board one of the glorified supply ships, the HMS Wager, there were only a few able-bodied men left to navigate the Strait of Magellan, fighting high seas and fierce winds. Add to that the fact that the Wager was in bad shape, not having been built for this kind of voyage. There weren't reliable charts for the waters that they were navigating, and the Wager's original captain had died on the journey over. And this was the first time the new captain, David Cheap, had been in command of a large vessel.
There's a lot of red flags here.
Yeah.
Number one, you're naming your ship Wager.
Yeah.
HMS Fingers Crossed.
Yeah.
Ooh, a question! Starting out with a bit of a lob here, what happened to the HMS Wager? A. It wrecked off the coast of modern-day Chile. B. It sank to the bottom of the ocean. Or C. It was the only boat in Anson's squadron to make it through the Strait of Magellan. Oh, are you both already locked in?
I'm locked in.
I've got my answer.
Okay, Brad, what do you got?
I put C. Cheap good.
Cheap good?
I put C because the story was called The Wager.
That's also
and so
why.
I figured the
Yeah.
boat would be around for a bit longer. in
It'd
the
be
story.
weird if this was the end of the story.
Yeah. So, it's
Oh, God.
It's Sea Dogs.
Hey!
It's Sea Dogs for our finale here. That's fun.
Very good.
Oh, we always have fun when we
Oh,
do
we
that.
love to have fun.
Points for neither of you.
Oh, what?
But I'm going to give a jelly bean for a little drawing. Way to go, Sarah. Right, it's as simple as that. Sometimes you just got to do a little drawing. I don't know how many times I have to tell you that.
I'm not going to conform to your rules.
Okay. Yeah, it crashed. On May 13th, 1741, the Wager had entered a large, uncharted bay as a hurricane pummeled the ship. Only 12 men fit for duty, yes, 12, less than 10% of the men on board, tried to keep the boat afloat. Captain Cheap, the clumsy oaf, fell down the quarterdeck ladder and dislocated his shoulder, meaning he had to captain from below deck.
Was everybody else just sort of like hurling their guts in the brig? Like,
Yeah, like between just injury and malnutrition and scurvy, they weren't having a good time.
God, I'd be so sick to go back in time with like a jet ski and just zoom right by these
Just
guys.
make-
They'd be like, "Who's that demon?"
yeah, they think you were a god or something.
I'd have like some of those cool like Oakleys.
Sure.
So let me get this straight. You get one chance to go back in time, do anything you want. You want to drive a jet ski around and make people confused.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. The sparse crew tried to convince him to let them turn the boat around, but Cheap had been given orders to meet up with the rest of Anson's fleet, and he didn't want to be late on one of his first days on the job. On May 14th at 4:30 a.m., the Wager struck some rocks, broke its tiller, and began to flood. Some stuck below deck immediately drowned. And then the situation stabilized. The boat was well and truly stuck, which meant they couldn't sail anywhere. The masts of the ship were gone by this point anyways, but it also meant they couldn't sink. To celebrate the fact that they were no longer at immediate risk of drowning, some men broke into the supplies, got rip-roaring drunk, and played dress-up with some of the officers' clothing.
Very funny.
So this is kind of an interesting, the ship didn't sink. It's just sort of stranded here on these rocks and can't go anywhere now.
Kind of the main thing you want a ship to do is move, though.
Move,
So,
yeah.
and there was no like escape little shippies.
Oh, so there were. We'll get into that now.
Okay.
Nice.
Now, the majority of the crew hopped into the small boats and rowed to land. There, they found an abandoned indigenous hut, which Captain Cheap immediately claimed as his own. That first night, the only food they had was a sack of biscuit dust, which was combined with water and a seagull someone killed to make a delicious bisque.
Obviously, this is a dire situation, but biscuit dust sounds pretty good.
Plus seagull blood, I guess?
I don't know about that part. but
Sounds tasty.
Biscuit dust, sign me up.
I mean, I like that they were like, it's not a soup, it's a bisque.
Beautiful bisque. Unfortunately, in the midst of the hurricane, it turns out the biscuit dust had been mixed in with tobacco, and those who had the soup became violently ill.
That sucks.
Over the next few days, the 150 or so members of the crew rowed back and forth to the deteriorating wreck, salvaging what supplies they could. They also began scouring the coast for food, finding some sea critters and celery, which, it turns out, cured their scurvy. Good to know, Ryan. Vegetables, they help.
I'd rather die.
You don't eat vegetables?
I'm trying to cut back on them.
Yeah.
What? Who's trying to cut back on
I'm just.
So you're trying to cut back
this
on
is off.
vegetables?
This is off my doctor's orders. I'm trying to cut back on my veggies.
The doctor literally said you shouldn't eat many vegetables?
No, of course not.
I don't know what's up with you. You could be full of worms for all I know.
That sounds. What do you think? I'm Oogie Boogie from the Nightmare Before Christmas?
I don't
I have
claim
a
to
giant
know.
wheel at my house that just like whatever it lands on, that's what I
I
eat.
don't know.
tonight.
Whatever you do in your own time is your business.
That would be pretty fucking sweet though. If I had a giant wheel and it was like, tonight I'm eating popcorn. Hooray!
I thought maybe your vitamins were too high.
I have started taking a multivitamin.
Well, that's good. I guess, do what you can. Unfortunately, searching for food was a demoralizing task, as the drowned and bloated bodies of so many former co-workers were bobbing about in the decks of the Wager or lapping up to shore where the survivors were huddled. How horrifying!
People died?
Yeah.
Oh, you left that part out.
Yeah, a lot of people died.
How many died?
A bunch.
Well, they drowned when the ship. They drowned when the ship went down a little
Yeah,
bit.
This is a historical recollection here. I doubt in the
Yeah.
history book it says a bunch of people died.
A bunch of guys died. Well, eventually some locals appeared in canoes. The wager boys got a few sheep from them, but after a bit of exploring, their situation became clear. They were not actually wrecked on the mainland, but on an island, without any real way off. The boats they still had, 3 small exploratory boats, weren't big enough to continue sailing, and they didn't have the tools needed to build a bigger one. With all this information, Cheap decided there was only one thing to do. Oh! What is that? A. Die. B. Try to convince the natives to accept them amongst themselves. Or C. Build a little town.
There we go. I put C.
Oh, I didn't ask for your answer yet.
I drew a picture though. There's the little town.
Yeah, but this is a disingenuous drawing now that you know that you can get a jelly bean
That's
for
not
it.
true. That's not
It's
true.
not coming from a true place.
Look at the level of detail on this house. It's almost like you could walk into it.
You just told me you would never draw one of those because you didn't want to follow my little rules.
Hey, people can change.
Oh, that's sweet. Sarah, what'd you put?
I put A.
A.
I think this guy is a little bitch. And I think he gives up. And he's like, let's die, people. Let's just give up.
Well, that's going to be a point for Ryan.
He's cocky. He's a cocky guy.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
That's what happens when you don't draw a little house.
Oh, God. I really could have used that point.
No, you'll be all right. Yes, Cheap figured the men would just establish an outpost right there on a random beach in the southern islands of Chile. One of the first things Cheap did was to read aloud the Articles of War and remind everyone that they apply on land as well as at sea. Basically, no one was allowed to mutiny on, quote, pain of death.
Yeah, that's gonna work when you say, don't mutiny me, here's the rules.
Yeah. I wouldn't even mention it.
I feel like the rules are gonna make people want to mutiny him.
Yeah. With that, some of the men built a housing unit with canvas from the sails used as curtains to divide the space up into separate cabins. As one of the men wrote, quote, "This is a rich house, and in some parts of the world would purchase a pretty estate. Considering where we are, we cannot desire a better habitation."
Wait, they like built like a legit house?
Sort of sounds like a makeshift sort of cabin out of canvas.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, did they have those supplies already with them on the boat, or did they scavenge on the island to build this thing?
I'm sure it's a combination of both, but
That's pretty cool.
Yes, they went to the boat and got the sails to use for tent material.
Would you be confident in your shelter building capabilities?
I'm not very strong. I don't know if you could tell.
You look strong, Sarah.
Thank you. I'm strong of will. How about you?
I'd dig a hole and then use that as like the foundation and then build some sort of
Oh,
perimeter
you know what?
around.
Digging a hole uses a lot of energy.
Yeah,
That's
you're
true.
burning those
but then
cows, bro.
But if you're going vertical, you have to be very confident about like how high you can go with the supplies.
Digging is hard. I don't know. I think I'd do like definitely a triangle situation, and then I would really just insulate the shit out of it, and I would also have a little beaver in there to be friends with.
If you could convince a legion of beavers to build it for you, that's the best case scenario.
Yeah. So if you have like a little flute or a little like pan flute,
like an Oompa Loompa flute that would summon the...
I think I'd probably just crawl into a little hole and sleep like a little bunny rabbit.
well, you could do that.
Yeah, I can.
And I'm guessing, given your past history on this show, Sarah, you'd have the beaver build your house and then you would eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do out there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Thanks for the house.
Here comes the fork and knife
you
now.
got to do what you got to do.
Within short order, there were 18 houses, a street running down the middle of town, a hospital tent, and fires burning 24 hours a day. They caught rainwater with empty barrels, and since the wager's bell had washed ashore, they used it to call out mealtime. Oh, the men read books that had been salvaged and started naming the geography around them. The body of water they were on was dubbed Cheap's Bay. The mountain that overlooked the village was anointed Mount Misery. And as for their home itself, Wager Island.
Wow, they built a little Los Alamos situation there. That's kind of cool.
Nice.
It's so funny because like they come from a place of structure, like
Right.
a society of structure, and then immediately they're like, we need the same structure again.
We need a dinner bell.
Yeah, we need a town.
Also, you said there was a canoe of natives that came by.
Yeah, they stopped by and got some sheep from them.
Wait, so they were just chill with like, yeah, just build on our beach, fuck it?
It seems like maybe it was not a very hospitable island, so...
Oh, I see. They're like, you want to build there? Go for it, pal.
Yeah, basically. It didn't take long, however, for the beach to be picked clean of shellfish and for the supplies from the ship to start looking thin. Captain Cheap tried to ration the food, but as the men grew hungrier, thieves would break into the supply tent. Now, when you're stuck on an island, this is more than just robbery. It also clearly endangers the lives of everyone else. Paranoia began to set in. As one man, John Byron, wrote, quote, ill humor and discontent from the difficulties we labored under in procuring subsistence, and the little prospect there was of any amendment in our condition was now breaking out apace.
That's a long way to say this blows.
This sucks.
This fucking sucks. There's really only one way that this usually goes.
Yeah.
Eating each other?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
How long was it before this happened? Because you described a fair amount of infrastructure that they built. How long were they on this island before?
Right now, I think they've only been there for like a couple weeks.
That's a lot to do in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
They were
Well, they
busy
got nothing
boys.
else to do. Well, at this point, the crew was starting to question their allegiance to Captain Cheap. For one, he wasn't their captain when they set off. For two, once in charge, he'd pretty quickly crashed the boat. And for three, there didn't seem to be much of a plan other than to hang out on the beach, which was becoming a problem as the food they were able to scrounge up was becoming rarer and worse. They were forced to mix seaweed with flour and fry it with tallow from a candle. They called it slaw cakes, and they friggin' gobbled them up.
That doesn't sound bad, honestly.
I'm actually really surprised by their ingenuity.
Me too. They're
Yeah.
pretty resourceful.
Yeah.
And that sounds legitimately good. I love seaweed.
And candles usually smell good. Sometimes I want to eat a little Yankee candle, you know?
What flavor? Does a certain flavor appeal to you?
Gray flannel.
Grape, that's not a Yankee candle.
Oh, that came from the hip.
Shouldn't have said a candle we have at home because I know where it's from.
You have it home.
As early as June 3rd, less than 3 weeks after they crashed, a group hatched a plan to blow Captain Cheap and his hut up to Kingdom Come with a barrel of gunpowder. At the last minute, some of the men got cold feet and abandoned the plan, instead running off into the wilderness, hoping to start life anew with nothing. Upon discovering that there really was nowhere to go, the cowards set up another camp a few miles away. Even amongst those still with Captain Cheap's camp, competing philosophies were developing. Those remaining loyal to Captain Cheap, and those liking what this other guy, John Bulkley, was saying. Unlike Cheap, Bulkley was trying to figure out a way to get everyone back to England. Bulkley's plan was to modify some of the small boats they still had to fit more men and make a go at traveling back through the Strait of Magellan.
Yeah.
You like this?
That's a good
I
plan.
mean, sounds good to me. I couldn't think of anything better besides, like, I don't know, catching a fin of a dolphin and
Right.
Like
using
riding,
the power of friendship to steer him
Yeah.
to England.
Yeah.
But
riding a dolphin.
there's no dolphins in this water.
Going back the way you came, that seems smart.
The men tried to persuade the captain of Bulkley's plan, but Cheap wouldn't hear it. Cheap, being a new captain, feared that if he fully abandoned his charge and went back to England, he'd be shot for cowardice. Instead of going south, back through the Strait of Magellan, Cheap wanted to go north and meet back up with the rest of the squadron. Still, it didn't seem like he was working too quickly toward that goal. They were languishing on the beach, and men kept dying. It's hard to obey orders when they boil down to hang out and wait for death.
It really puts things into perspective because, like, sometimes I'm stressed about, like, getting work done.
Yeah.
But at least I'm not worried about being shot when I go back home for cowardice.
True. Laying on a beach, pretty sweet, though. Could you really blame him? He probably had a nice book, a blanket, getting some rays.
Yeah, starving.
Yeah.
Well, that part not as
Starving,
good.
living in fear.
Yeah.
But getting a sweet tan.
Sweet tan.
Yeah, I'm sure he was really tan.
Now, if the men went with Bulkley's plan without the captain, however, well, that's mutiny, baby, and grounds for death if they ever got back to England. Bulkley thought the king might have some mercy on a group of men shipwrecked at the edge of the world, but to be honest, no one could be sure. Some claimed that legally, the captain no longer had authority over the men since their ship was gone and they were technically unemployed.
Oh, loophole.
Yeah, they're kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't, because if they go back to England, they might be like, that's mutiny, you'll die for that. Tensions kept building, and some of the men began openly disrespecting Captain Cheap's authority. One midshipman by the name of Cousins was being particularly rebellious. 27 days after the shipwreck, Cousins approached the purser to ask why a buddy of his had his allowance suspended. In the conversation, Cousins mentioned mutiny. The purser aimed his gun at Cousins' head and fired, but missed. Hearing the commotion, Captain Cheap stormed out of his tent. Someone said Cousins was there to start a mutiny, at which point Captain Cheap put his gun against Cousins' cheek and fired. What happened to Cousins? A, weren't you paying attention? His head got exploded. B, the gun didn't have bullets, so he survived and was a model castaway. Or C, He died an agonizing death over the course of 2 weeks. You guys ever shoot anybody in the head?
Not yet.
Okay,
No.
good. Okay, Ryan, what do you got?
Nice and slow.
Nice and slow, yeah.
Like the Green Goblin.
Sure. And Sarah?
I also did nice and slow.
Sea dogs! And you do listen to sea dogs. Bark, 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 bark.
Oh, Bart, yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna see this all brought to life in thrilling dramaturgy. I don't
Yay.
know. Bye.
Dramaturgically.
I love the theater.
Mutiny, maybe. Listen, I'm just tossing ideas out. No wrong answers during a brainstorm. What the?
Look at the hips on that guy.
Who dares question my authority? Oh, well, look who it is, Captain Cheap. Oh, what are you gonna do? Shoot me? Bang! Oh! That should send a message to everyone about stirring up trouble. Oh my God! You shot me! Holy moly, you're still alive! I mean, obviously. Now send the surgeon over here to help dig this bullet out of my skull. No. What? Oh,
Nasty.
oh boy. I reckon I've got a tough couple weeks ahead of me. Oh.
I'm so proud of us for getting that right.
Also, I loved how he said you shot me like Will Ferrell and Austin Powers.
That was a wild one.
Oh my
Crazy.
God.
You ever been shot before?
Yeah.
Was it John Wilkes Booth? He thought you were Lincoln.
Easy to mix
You
up.
were
Easy to
standing next to
confuse.
him in the booth.
Wow, points for both of you. Hey, all right.
Nice.
Yeah, the surgeon was forbidden from immediately attending to Cousins, and the poor wretch didn't die until 2 weeks later. At this point, 45 men had died, and 7 had deserted into the wilderness, leaving 100 men on the beach. Almost all of them pretty upset at their so-called captain for now shooting one of his guys in the face and then denying him medical attention. Not a way to win fans.
I guess I thought there was like 20 dudes here. There was 100?
There's 100 guys. Yeah.
Wait, yeah,
Ay,
I'm
ay,
confused.
ay.
I thought you said the ship was going with like 14 dudes.
There were 12 men manning the ship during the storm, because most of the others were incapacitated or sick. Or
Yeah, they were
I see.
underneath. 99 guys versus 1 guy?
Yeah. Odds
You
are
gotta
in their
get
favor.
him. You gotta get him.
Yeah, over the next few months, that's right, months, things settled into a frustrating stasis. Poor weather, this being the southern hemisphere's winter, lashed the outpost. The men worked on making their small boats bigger, and when the grumbling amongst the crew would start to crescendo, Captain Cheap would tell them he was considering sailing back to England and up the alcohol rations, thereby cooling temperatures just a bit. By September, as Bulkley wrote, they were eating, quote, dogs, rats, and, in short, everything we can come at. These smaller boats were now being sent south to explore and plan a route back to the Strait of Magellan with or without the captain. Well, that sounds rough, huh?
Doesn't sound ideal.
No.
Now, again, I do think that this is heading toward eating people. I feel like once you start cracking into the animals that aren't normally eaten,
Yeah.
it's a slippery slope.
Right. At the beginning of October, the men tried to convince Captain Cheap to sail back south, but he still refused. With the decision down to probably dying on the way back to England, where you'd maybe be hanged for mutiny, or definitely dying sitting on a Chilean beach, it was finally time for a good and proper mutiny, led by Bulkley. The men tied up Captain Cheap and told him that they were taking him back to England for trial for shooting Cousins. Cheap said he'd rather be shot than taken as a prisoner, and the men agreed to leave him on the island.
Well, if it's between getting hanged when you go home or dying laying on a beach,
You go for the beach?
I think I'm going with the beach.
Vibes.
Vibes, die vibing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it feels like dying back there is probably better than like be a coward, bring shame upon your family, etc., etc.
But if they do it right, they knock him over the head with a rock, they could bring his body on the boat, make it like formal, wrap him in like a fucking like English flag or something and be like, oh, he tripped.
Yeah.
They're not gonna like
Yeah.
examine his head wound and be like, they clearly just killed him.
He tripped and fell on a knife.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and now you go back, they're like, you didn't mutiny. You took care of your captain.
Yeah,
You wrapped him in a
yeah,
flag. Look
yeah.
how cute he looks. He looks like a little burrito.
Yeah. On October 12th, 151 days after the wreck, the 90 or so mutineers set off in a modified longboat, dubbed the Speedwell, and 2 smaller boats. Back on Wager Island, Captain Cheap and about 10 others watched them leave, keeping for themselves only a small boat and some meager provisions. Shortly after leaving Wager Island, the mutineers realized they'd left some supplies that they could really use. So they sent a group of 9 men on a small barge back to the island to get it. But the barge never returned. Eventually, the longboat turned around and sailed back to Wager Island.
What the hell? None of these dudes should be out there. None of these dudes know what they're doing.
No.
That really ruins a dramatic exit. That's like breaking up with someone and then coming back and being like, forgot my keys.
What did they find? A, nothing. They had no idea what in the hell happened. B, Cheap had murdered them all. Or C, they wrecked the barge and were waiting for the longboat to pick them up. A lot of twists and turns in this story, huh?
Yeah.
Life was a lot more exciting back then.
I guess that's one way to think about it, yeah. Brian, what do you got?
B, Betrayal Beach. I think he killed everybody.
Sarah, how about you?
I'm saying B, murder.
B-boys, basketball, etc.
Hooray!
Dribble, dribble.
Well, we're gonna find out via the magic of theater. I'll be back in a second.
Oh my God, I love the theater so much.
Well, you've really done it this time, Cheap. You've driven away the only friends you ever had, and... Oh, Captain! We're back! We were supposed to pick up some extra sails or something, but a few of us got to talking, and honestly, sailing back through the Strait of Magellan on that rickety longboat started to look like a bad idea. So, we want to stay with you now! How wonderful, how very wonderful. In that case, prepare to set sail. We're fulfilling our mission and meeting back up with the other British folks someplace north of here. I have no idea where they are. Okay.
What a bunch of losers. Pick a lane. Oh, back. Oh, shit.
This is a wild goose chase for real.
Oh my God, we've been waiting for so long. Where the heck are you? Guys, hello? Well, I guess we'll just sail to Brazil. What a mystery.
What the fuck is happening? Is there more? Okay.
These are the most hapless dudes of all time.
Yeah, like no interaction. They just go with the most recent thing that was said to them. Eat your foot. All right.
I guess so.
Whoa, points to neither of you.
That's fine.
That was a crazy one, huh? Yeah, basically the 9 folks who hopped on the barge to go and get more supplies had gotten some pretty cold feet when they actually set sail. They figured they'd rather rejoin Captain Cheap than try to get to Brazil in their rickety little boat. Cheap, now with a crew he felt he could trust, decided to charge north in their 2 tiny boats to try and rejoin the British squadron, wherever the hell they happened to be. For 3 months, Cheap and his men tried to get north, but never made much progress, sailing more or less on the door that Rose ends up on at the end of Titanic. Eventually, they returned to that home away from home, Wager Island. There were only 14 men left, and death wasn't going to be long in finding those last survivors. Meanwhile, after shrugging off the loss of the barge and 9 men, the Speedwell set off for Rio. The trip was, in a word, shitty. People kept dying or being abandoned on shore to die until finally, on January 28th, 1742, 15 weeks after leaving Wager Island, the Speedwell spotted the Rio Grande. That is the Brazilian Rio Grande, not the Texas Rio Grande. Of the 90 who had set off, only 30 were left. Now, from here, the story involves a lot of waiting in port towns, basically thumbing for a ride back home. Finally, on New Year's Day, 1743, 10 mutineers landed at Spithead, England, more than 2 years after leaving. Whew, imagine how good that must have felt.
What happened to the other 20? They were like, Rio rules. I'm gonna stay here.
Some actually did stay.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
I'd be like, this place kicks ass.
Yeah.
Look at all the beach volleyball.
Now, unfortunately for these hard-scrabble survivors, they still weren't technically safe. They were, after all, admitted mutineers. After some consideration, the Admiralty decided to delay any court-martials until after Commodore George Anson returned. In the meantime, many of the survivors actually re-entered sailing professions, I guess realizing it was the only job they knew how to do. Bulkley and the carpenter, Cummins, wrote a book about their journey, though when it was published, many readers believed Bulkley should probably be hanged. In 1744, Anson returned, likely having spent the last few years wondering what the heck happened to his supply ship. Anson decided it didn't really make any sense to hold a trial until Cheap returned. Bulkley must have laughed to himself. Sure, we'll wait until Captain Cheap gets back. Good idea.
Well, he doesn't really have great ideas himself. As a general rule rule of thumb. If you commit a crime, probably don't write a book about it. You're going
He's-
whole O.J. Simpson. If I did it, this is how I would do it kind of
I
thing.
mean, make a pretty penny back then however you can, I suppose.
Also makes sense now why those folks chilled in Rio. Don't have to
Yeah.
do the whole answering for mutiny thing.
Something tells me the Cheap's gonna show up.
I mean, you never know with that guy.
Ain't that like cheap?
Bulkley took a job as command of a 40-gun privateer named the Sapphire, where his skilled seamanship repaired the damage his own book had done to his reputation. He knew if he kept it up, it wouldn't be long before the Admiralty handed him the coveted role commanding a Royal Navy ship. Then, on April 9th, 1745, 464 days after Bulkley returned as a disgraced mutineer, Captain David motherfucking Cheap arrived in England. That's right, Ryan. You finally have proof ghosts are real because David Cheap, left for dead on a beach at the edge of oblivion, was back, bitch.
How the fuck did he do that?
Maybe he was a good captain, the fact that he could get back.
Yeah.
He did crash his ship immediately.
Yeah, a lot of people died. Yeah.
But that was like par for the course.
Everyone makes
Everyone
mistakes.
was dying on ships all the time back then.
Yeah. I think we're all asking the same question here. How? A. Native people led his men on a 4-month hike north to a small Spanish settlement. B. They were stuck in South America for another 2.5 years before convincing a French ship to take them to Europe. Or C. They hitched a ride on a Dutch ship bound for England.
Oh, these all sound.
Why are they? You need to give us like one gimme. That sounds crazy.
I don't do gimmies.
They're actually hard questions.
Yeah.
Cool. Locking it in.
Oh, you guys are locked in, right?
Wait, I'm not locked in.
Oh, sorry, Sarah.
I'm just changing it at the 11th hour. Okay.
C, the Flying Dutchman.
Flying Dutchman. And Sarah, how about
I
you?
also said sea Dutch
Sea
ship.
Dog, whatever. Sea Dogs.
That's why you changed it. You knew we'd be doing some Sea Dogs.
No, I just thought that sounded right.
Well, I think we've all been through enough here, so points to everyone.
Hooray.
As all of those steps, plus many, many more,
What?
were what Cheap had to endure to get home.
That's crazy.
Damn, dude.
Wait, all?
So like one happened after the other?
Natives led his men on a 4-month hike north to a small Spanish settlement. They were stuck in South America for another 2.5 years before convincing a French ship to take them to Europe, and then they hitched a ride on a Dutch ship bound for England.
How many of the original crew?
Oh, you're gonna love this. By the time his gang landed in England, only Cheap and 2 others were still alive. But alive they were.
Holy shit.
Yep.
With how many people are dying, you gotta be like shitting your pants, like being like, am I gonna die in like a
That's
couple
true.
days?
Yeah, that's a lot.
To be one of those last guys, like, it's very lucky.
With Cheap back, that mutiny court-martial could finally happen. Bulkley was, for good reason, suddenly very afraid for his neck. Cheap, however, was under the impression that if he tried to get the mutineers punished, they would try to get him in trouble for shooting cousins in the face. It was mutually assured destruction, and both sides had been sitting on the edge of death for too long to really want that. Everyone decided to let bygones be bygones, not knowing that no matter what, the Admiralty had already decided that after the Wager wrecked, what happened on Wager Island stayed on Wager Island. Cheap received a promotion because of his fanatical loyalty, and everyone lived, if not happily ever after, then for a little bit longer.
What happened to Cheap after? Was he like decorated? Did he go back to captaining?
I mean, a lot of them did go back to seafaring, which I guess, why not? It can't get worse than that, I suppose.
The fact that they went through all of that and were like, let's go again. Let's get
Well, it's
back
like in
there.
Twisters.
Huh?
When you have something tragic happen to you with a
Right.
twister, you go back and you
Yeah.
chase it again.
Yeah.
Face your fear.
Face
Yeah.
your fear. Ride it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ride it.
That's what I do in Ghost Files every season.
Yeah.
I write it.
What have you drawn there? Is that the professor?
I
Or
don't know.
Eugene Levy?
What did you draw?
I don't even know what I drew here. It's just like a little guy. Look at
little
the
guy.
expression on his face.
Yeah, he's like, ooh.
That's him riding the jet ski.
He looks like a 90s comic strip character.
Yeah.
Like an alternative, like, Bush is bad. I hate Bush. That's what he says.
That concludes our history lesson, but only because of time limitations. There was an entire other group of Wager mutineers who were abandoned by Bulkley who also managed to find their way back to England. The story's very big and sprawling, and the good folks at your local library can help you learn more about this, or anything. But at some point, we gotta tally up these points. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go vibe with the tallies to see who wins the coveted capsules and title of History Wizard. In the meantime, enjoy the musical stylings of The Wreck of the Wager. Wow, I'll be back. Whoa!
So now look at this. He's got some shoes.
Let me see. This is great. He looks like a Mr. Men.
He looks like somebody that Super Mario would fight in the early stages of a video game.
We need this guy on a t-shirt ASAP. Wow, look at him.
Like skeleton on the whole.
The detail on him is beautiful.
The shipping now sails to the west. Gonna prove to the rest of the world that England fights with the best. Hot crew, high sea, running around the globe with Captain David Cheap. We've got the stuff, take the 100 hurricanes to call our bluff. And the wind starts picking it up, Captain with his liver in his eye. Grab the wings of the little kid, and that's the moment that I finally realized the captain's bad at boats. We got a problem, he don't know nautical stuff. What the hell was this guy ever thinking?
What the hell was this guy ever thinking?
The captain's bad at boats. I can't believe this. I'm laying smack on the rocks on a possible verge of sinking. The surf's up. Dreadful tide. Crew stranded, but they're trying the best. Except for all the ones who died. Hot blood, long nights. Eating seagulls and they're getting in fights. We might be fucked, trying to keep our chin up, but we're running out of luck.
And the tension started ratcheting up.
Temple one guy got shot in the dome. I'm not too certain not have taken this trip. And from the start of it, I only wanna know.
Captain's bad at
The
boats.
captain, bad at boats. Nobody likes him. Got no discernible plan. I'm surprised that nobody's killed him.
And somebody kill this fucking
The
guy.
captain's bad at boats. And also everything. We're gonna rot on this beach. I really think that someone should kill him.
Really think that someone should kill
We all
him.
got a mutiny against Captain David Cheap. Drag us halfway around the world. Damn us all to the bloody beach. I'm wrecked in the bay. Can't believe I didn't check his resume. He don't die. The stuff took a single hurricane to call his love.
Oh, that was an abrupt ending. Holy shit.
Beautiful.
Very good.
I like the implication that the boat hired the captain.
Whoa, wow, what a performance. That was really something. Hey, you guys are never gonna believe this, but according to our very simple tally, today's winner is Sara Rubin! Oh, but does winning a silly competition compare to the thrilling tranquility that you feel with the once daily brain pill? Forget it all. Come get your prizes, folks. Yes. Free
yeah.
pills. Forget it all. Just do it. Don't eat those. Okay, that's gonna do it for this one. Sara, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Ryan, thanks for being a friend. And for all you folks at home, thanks for watching Puppet History, where the details are always a little fuzzy. Well, now it's the waiting game.
What about like a sack of apples or something?
Yeah, he's
You know,
gotta
lure
show
him
up
in.
sooner or later. I don't.
Bag of horseshoes.
Whoop. Oh.
Fellas! I just saw that no good, dirty, rotten Elmer Walter Williams. He's in the retirement room with a briefcase full of cash. He must know the heat's turning up, and he's trying to escape to retirement with your moolah.
You thinking what I'm thinking?
I think it's time to drown a horse. Ryan, grab that hose. Dr. Spratt, when you hear us holler, give that molasses valve a crank and we'll send that cloppity asshole to sweet mucky hell.
That's right!
It's time to kill a horse.
Mr. Ed must die! Godspeed, boys. Godspeed.
Well, you unsaddled fuck! We know you caught. Don't pet me. We know you killed Shane in the street like a filthy dog. And now we caught you with a bunch of money. The jig is up!
Any last words before we molass your ass? Oh, you waiting for your lawyer? We got attorneys Hoseful and Molasses Esquire on retainer.
That's right! Dr. Spratt, give us the juice! Huh? Whoa.
Wait.
You stupid idiots! Don't you see? He's a puppet.
Yeah, we know he's not like a real horse. What?
No, he's an actual lifeless puppet. I bought it at a store for children. I've been controlling him this entire time.
You've been what? A puppet? Controlling another puppet?
I calculated all the angles perfectly. Of course. Was there ever any doubt?
I had my doubts.
Shut up, you!
The screwy puppet's off his rocker.
Maybe, or maybe no one in the universe is my mental equal. So yes, my brain's a little more divided than average, but that's a tangent.
All those math terms. Hoagie Sprat.
Why, I do think the professor has finally done the math.
Rearrange the letters in your Pratty Hagos.
Of course.
Who the hell is Pratty Hag? I'm Pythagoras, you simplified equations.
You were the only historical figure Shane's ghost never saw, because you never died.
Because I am the only being smart enough to have uncovered the key to immortality through math. I'd tell you both, but you're too dumb to understand.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit so we could figure out the rest?
Yeah.
No! But what I can tell you is how your whole puppet history empire came crumbling down in the course of one season. As you of course remember, 2,500 years ago, some dick named Cylon tried to burn me and my cult followers up in a house fire. But being a genius, I managed to escape by moving in the opposite direction of said fire. I fled into the night and took shelter in a dank old cave, picking up my mathematical work where I left off. Soon, via the power of math, I determined the way to extend life indefinitely. Immortality's not really as complicated as you might think. Carry the one and death becomes mostly a skill issue. As the millennia ticked by and I traveled the world, every now and again I'd hear tell of another immortal being. A little blue nerd who had met pharaohs, seen Mount Vesuvius erupt, and spent a disproportionate amount of time in France. This was, of course, impossible. Only I had the mind to crack the code of immortality. I dismissed the rumors as ramblings of fools. Until a few years ago, while folding laundry and letting my YouTube algorithm drift, one day a little blue freak popped up onto my laptop screen, telling tales from the exact moments of history that I'd heard rumors about. I knew then, Professor, that you were my lifelong nemesis, dancing with me through the sands of time. It turned out you weren't immortal, but instead a lucky idiot who stumbled upon a magical genie who granted your wish of becoming a historical time traveler, popping in and out of wherever the narrative juice was worth the squeeze. Even though you weren't immortal, you controlled legions of dedicated followers, people, real people. They were obsessed, just like my cult had been. It wasn't right. I was the genius. So I decided to take your show from you and install myself as the rightful leader and fount of all knowledge. Your show, it turns out, has a complicated succession plan in place. First, under the guise of Elmer Walter Williams, I murdered estranged producer Shane Madej in the streets like a dog. Meanwhile, I hooked you buffoons and much of the rest of the crew on drugs, so no one noticed as I knocked off every last name on that list and moved on to the most delicate part of my plan. Marrying Dorothy Ruth and becoming her next of kin. R.I.P. to a real one. And that means once the two of you are taken care of, puppet history will be all mine. Legally. All it took was a little murder. And now, there's no one to stop me from branding it. Puppet mathematics! Has a ring to it.
Math. God, you are one sick son of a bitch.
Your bosses at the Department of Puppet Safety are gonna have your badge for this.
Guys, focus. There is no Department of Puppet Safety. I made it up. I made this all up.
But don't feel bad for falling for it. I am history's greatest genius.
You keep history's good name out of your murdering mouth!
Hey, what do you think he meant when he said when we're taken care of?
And have we ever learned what the retirement room actually does?
It puts morons out of their misery. Be seeing you.
No.
Delivery to Purgatory complete.
Belong to dependent and independent variables. These may be interpreted as the ratio of differential change in the dependent variable y to the differential change in the independent variable x. Thanks for watching Puppet Mathematics. We'll see you next time. Smash that like button.
Whoa, this show sucks. Take it from me, I know my trash. Yeah, I'm that little rat from seasons 1 and 5 of Puppet History. I ate some rope, remember that? What else have I done? I don't know. Anyway, it seems like they're serial killing fuzzy little puppet guys like myself, but they forgot about me, so I'm here in the dumpster. But the new guy's been throwing out so much neat stuff that I thought I'd open a little commemorative Puppet History exhibit in here. Sort of like the Museum of the Moving Image. Like check this out, a hat. And I don't know what those letters are, because rats can't read. And then, I don't know what this is. And then over here, God, jeez, it's so dark in here. Oh, you know what? They tossed out a leaky old generator. Let me plug it in and get this light going, and, it doesn't seem to be working. What's going on here? What the heck is that? Itching for more Puppet History? Well, head on over to Watcher TV for an extended cut and to watch all episodes a month early.